The Twiggs County Board of Education meeting is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, June the 22nd, 2020, and the time is 6:02 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, we have our superintendent here, and we have 4 of our members present. And we believe that Mr. Harris, our 5th member, will be here momentarily, but we're going to go ahead and get started. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Tuesday, June the 23rd, and I did say June the 22nd before, but this is actually June the 23rd. So you see the agenda before you, and is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting, June 23rd, 2020?
I'll make that motion.
The motion has been made by Ms. Stokes and seconded by Mr. Ralph to approve the agenda of tonight's meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. And then in your packets, you see your the minutes for May 26th and June 9th meetings. As you look through those, I entertain a motion to approve those minutes, either one by one or together, however you see fit.
Madam Chair, I need the motion to approve the minutes together.
Ms. Blackshear's made the motion to approve the minutes together for May 26th and June 9th. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made, seconded, by Ms. Stokes. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries. At this time, we're going to ask Ms. Blackshear if she will give us an ethics statement.
Yes, ma'am. In accordance with regulations set forth by the Georgia Ethics Commission, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflict of interest and interest of such conflict. Does any board member have any non-conflict of interest? Madam Chair, we will proceed with our agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. And Mr. Dixon, do you have comments on my superintendent?
Madam Chair, I want to first of all say thank you to Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, fellow board members, and to our stakeholders who are on live listening to our board meeting tonight. We had a wonderful graduation just a week or so ago, and we want to say thank you to the administrative staff and faculty and all of our custodial engineers that worked to make it a beautiful event. We were outside and it was very timely, it was very organized, and it went very well. And we're very proud of class of 2020. Definitely they are survivors of many things. They, when they were little ones, they had to survive a tragedy as little ones. Now they've survived all of the COVID-19 things. So it's only in question what they will all become. I'm looking forward to see that, what they will all be. The salutatorian's address was phenomenal. The valedictorian's address was great. The spirit of the class was great. And so it was just a great gathering. The parents were very well received the atmosphere of the graduation. And I want to say a very special thank you to them. and to our stakeholders for the cooperation that we receive for the untimeliness of the changes that we had to make, and the cooperation that the community gave to us with the graduation. So I was very pleased with that, and as well as we're moving forward and trying to make preparations and plans, we want to continue to lift up the Harris family. That's Adrian Harris family, who was in our thoughts and prayers. The wife of Zachary Harris, who was our assistant principal at the high school, and Ms. Adrian Harris, who served us as student support services coordinator and special education director for the past several years. She suddenly passed a week or so ago, and she leaves behind a loving husband and 4 children, and so we want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers as we move forward, and as we are thankful for our families. Let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers. As we're doing that, the administrative team and staff, we are looking forward to establishing a memorial fund that we will start a memorial scholarship in her honor here at Twiggs County. She was very involved with the student body, with the faculty, and with this community. And the accolades, if you had opportunity to read on Facebook and everywhere, it's just been great with that. So just let's keep them in our thoughts and prayers. So we want to say thank you to board members, faculty, and staff who had the opportunity to attend the service and to show our support. Great support was lended to the family. And at a later date, this board will show and some more appreciation to that family, and have the family to attend, so that we can send more gratitude to them as well with that. And we will continue to make preparations to begin our 2020-2021 school year. So we will keep you updated with that as things unfold and changes are made. Thank you for what you do.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Dixon. And it's not understanding that Freedom Fireworks, did they give a fireworks show one night at the school? They offered to do that. Maybe it was cut short because of the weather. Was that a volunteer thing that they did, Mr. Dixon?
Normally, Freedom Fireworks, they are always giving.
Right.
This was a paid event this time,
Okay.
but they always give. They give
good.
to our scholarship committee. They give every time that there's an opportunity to give. They're always giving. But this particular time was a paid event for this event. But he gives, the Freedom Fireworks gives to our scholarship fund, to any event that we're having at the school. But this one was not. But we appreciate all of the donations that we get from Freedom Fireworks.
We thank them for that, and I think it was cut short because of the weather, if
It
I'm not
was cut short
mistaken.
because of
But
weather.
we are thankful for what Freedom Fireworks does. And Chesney Butler is the person kind of in charge of that. I know he goes by Chachi, but when he was in my 7th grade classroom at Twiggs County Middle School, he was known as Chesney. So that he was my student, and so great guy. So we
And
thank
Madam
him for
Chair,
that.
there was
Yes,
one
sir.
thing that I did not catch as we were approving the agenda, and we do need to amend the agenda to include a spending resolution for July. We were trying to wait for the General Assembly to pass down some more budget information. That has not come down as expeditiously as we would like. So we will need a spending resolution for July. So, and I did not catch that in time to ask for that. So if
Okay, our superintendent has asked us to amend the agenda for spending resolution for July, and if the board approves that, that will be item F, if that's okay, on our agenda. But we will need a motion from the floor to, add that item to our agenda.
So moved.
The motion has been made by Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rouse. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Dixon, were you about to say something?
No, I was just gonna say we won't have another meeting before then, so
Before,
yes,
okay.
ma'am, and that's, I'm sorry.
All right, any other discussion about that? Okay, all in favor for adding spending resolution for July as item F to our agenda, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. All right, are there any other announcements that we have? Anything? Nothing with that? Good. All right. With that being said, we're going to move on to our business agenda, and the first item on our business agenda is the landscaping RFP review, and that is an action item. Mr. Bacon, we had this in discussion last time here at our last meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Well, we're here tonight, basically, we presented and you've had the RFP and all the data, from the prospective vendors. Next slide, Mr. Bassett. And here are the bids as they came in. So we're seeking the board's conclusion of what they would like to do, after discussion on last board meeting. And I didn't greet you, so how you do, Madam Chair,
Hello,
Vice
Mr.
Chair,
Bacon,
board
you're
members,
fine.
and
I
staff,
thought you did.
stakeholders.
I thought you did. You did in your heart. So that's okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
we,
sir.
I did do some, have some conversations with, the vendors to make sure that we, have all of the information that we needed. Our low bid from Dane Landscaping, and I did speak with him, in regards to find out how many times a week would he be available to be in our district. What would his crew look like, to be in our district? Because our district, we've got a lot of territory to cover. So he did say that his plan would be in our district about 2 days a week. And he would have a team of about 2, in our district, to take care of what we needed, in our district. And I checked with him, because he was the low bid. The next bid was DOW, who we presently have, and I already know what they do, so. At present, their contract is $70,000, with us. Their bid is $75,000, here, and they do give back some into scholarship and to the REACH scholarship, and also to our athletic department. So, but these are the numbers that we have, and of where we are. So that's the information that we have right now. I'll entertain discussion from you all, and we'll move forward with the recommendation.
Does anybody have any other discussion? Questions about that?
How many people does the lawn care for DLW? It's more than 2 people.
They run normally 3 to 5.
If Dane feel that, 2 people will be able to do the job.
He said he would have a truck of 2 here, and I questioned that, and he said, well, if needed, maybe I could possibly put another truck over here. So that would be on him if he's awarded. the bid.
And you said that, DFW, I know one year they said it was giving back, some amount of money, and you said they give athletic and reach and scholarship. What total amount do they actually give? If you know, I mean, do you know? Is it,
I know what's given to reach, as far as the athletic department, was actually given. I could get those figures, but I don't know off the top of my head what's.
I'm just trying to see how much are they giving back as far as, you know what I'm saying?
I know just in the reach part, the 1,500 is given back to reach, but to the athletic department, I'm not exactly sure what's the total, because they're given, I think, to different pots. So I don't know, I don't have that direct number to be able to say what that number is.
Did you say 15 to the reach?
1,500 to reach.
Any other questions, any other discussion?
I remember the last meeting, Mr. Bacon, didn't you state if they didn't perform according to contract? How many days they had, what you say about that?
It's two factors. One, the contract is, what we're asking for is we do a 12-month with a 3-year option. And because no state agency can go into a contract longer than 12 months. So at the end of 12 months, you can end the contract. Now, there's also the situation for cause. They get out here and they're not doing the job. We do corrective action, hey, we don't like this, and they don't, then we can terminate the contract after due notice because of cause. But pretty much, if you're in a contract with us, you're in 12 months, you're not bounded in, but,
Yeah,
so,
I'm saying, I'm looking at if not giving me what we need,
yeah.
we have an option out.
Yeah, I gotta, write it up, give them a chance to change that in format, and then bring that back to the superintendent. This is what, because it is a contract, and if we're gonna end that contract, there needs to be paperwork and paper trail, that follows that. If I'm gonna break that before the 12-month period, so we'll have to follow that. You're not coming out here to grab, I have to call you, to make sure, if those things happen.
And we had that conversation this afternoon.
Yes.
And, because I knew, that was one of the questions that I felt like we would have tonight. And I said, I wanna make sure that we're providing a correct answer to that particular question. And, I think the correct answer is that we're kind of bound at least to 12 months. Even in giving corrective action, because you got to give an opportunity to improve, to correct, and by that time, you cannot, because I think the way I phrased my question to Mr. Rouse, to Mr. Bacon was, we know what level of service we've been accustomed to, so if we, in September, October, we said, we're not happy with this, can we end this contract then? We would have some issue with that. Am I correct?
Yes, if we just arbitrarily, without any paperwork, paper trail, and I did our due diligence and just wanted to end it, I mean, the board at the board's pleasure,
It's a contract when
but
you
you have
sign that.
litigation
So
in
12 months.
that goes with that.
So you can do your job for almost a year before we actually can get rid of you. We got to pay you to do a job for a year. Something like that don't sound right.
But like I said, there's corrective
I know
action.
you got to have a paper trail.
Right.
Mhm.
And-
I understand that,
Yeah.
you know, and you gotta give them a chance to correct. But a year,
Get too long.
yeah, you know,
But technically, if you're not fulfilling your part of the contract after the corrective
contract law,
active,
yeah.
then we can come and bring it to the board and we can,
Yes.
now, there might be litigation following that
Correct.
in the discussion of, well, but if you have your paper trail and we do our part correctly, then it
Right.
seems like you should be able to
You would be able to.
dismiss. But it's not with no
Not
cause at all.
good.
It's not like a probationary time, where, you know, some people are employed probationary where you can just be dismissed without cause, but you have to have cause to do it. You're really not doing the job.
Right. You have to have cause, unless somebody gets, you know, if they did
Unless
something
it's
totally
Way
egregious
bad,
that
so
you
that
can just,
would be,
they
right,
broke the law or
right,
something
that
and,
kind of,
like that, but we would have to have a follow-up.
Didn't we go month to month with DLW for a while before we went into a contract?
I wasn't in this position when they first got here, as long as I knew they.
Or we went month to month with them before we renewed the contract, maybe? Am I correct?
I think that was a while we went, a lot before we did that.
I think it was a month before we had I know when I got on board, we had a contract the last time, they were repaying on month to month. I don't know, did they have a contract previous to that, but
It was a month.
I did
it
the
was month to month. And because it was an increase, and the question was asked, why was the increase? And it was told because they had to get the insurance and all that. And they didn't have that before, cause it wasn't required, cause we didn't have this,
Right.
written up for that.
Right, so I guess the first time that we went through the RFP process, I went through the RFP, I wrote the RFP. So then we made the requirements, of what we wanted and spell that out. So this is the second such
Right.
round of that. Yes, sir, you were correct with that. But I didn't know what it was previously, whether they had a contract or what.
Well, I mean, I don't know neither, I know we was paying month to month, but it might have had one before that, because when I came on the board, we was paying month to month.
Mhm. I remember we were doing something month to month. What was that, Ms. Wilson?
I said, I think it was the paying month to month.
Mhm.
Like a year contract.
All right, any other questions, any other discussion?
Mr. Dixon, you mentioned 70,000, you said that's what they had, that's what the charge was last year, is that right?
Yes,
The last 3 years. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dixon, you
There's any other comments?
Do we have any other questions or comments?
Mr. Harris, you got any thoughts?
All right, is there, Mr. Dixon, you want to make a recommendation? Okay.
Yeah, sure, because I wanted to look back at my notes from what he said. He said, I'll run a truck, probably a 3-2 man, commit to 2 days a week. And I asked, what other company did he have about this size that he was, that he had handled? And he said a German company down in Dublin, Ilrich, around. So, so that's, you know, I want to make sure that he was accustomed to doing something of this size. So we're in tough times, budget times. We're 65, 75. So as good fiduciary superintendent, I have to make the recommendation based upon the numbers right now. So for as it goes with this, I'll go with the lowest bid for our grass cutting service.
All right, you've heard the presentation and the discussions. You've heard our superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion from the floor regarding the RFP for landscaping?
I asked a question before that.
Yes.
Since you're saying about a year that they ain't doing the job, is it a way that we go, maybe month to month with them to see before we do the contract or not? Or is that legal or not? I'm just asking. Or would they might not even wanna go for that, but I'm just saying.
I think because we ran the RFP, the way we ran the RFP, we will have to go with the way we ran the RFP.
Okay, and my other thing is, the way you ran the RFP, and the requirements of what we want done was in RFP. You know, I don't care if you send one man, as long as he get the job done. I mean, because this is what the RFP asked for.
Yes, sir.
So I'm saying, so if he send one man that can do this whole job, that's on him and that one man. So long as if he think he can do it, what he know his job, so supposed to hope he do. That's just my opinion on it. I mean, it's hard times, we got budget crunch, it's hard to see giving somebody, if I can get the job done for less price, for $10,000 less.
So it sounds like you're willing to take the chance for the
For $10,000, I'm
For the
willing to take
savings.
a chance.
I get that. I understand.
I am, I'm just one board member,
Okay,
District 1.
yes, sir. Well, do you have that, is that in the form of a motion, Mr.
Now, I
Ross?
thought we might have some more discussion.
Any other discussion first? Any other? Nothing? All right. Well, with that being said, is there, a motion to approve our superintendent's recommendation regarding RFP for landscaping?
I'll make that motion.
All right, the motion has been made by Ms. Stokes. Is there a second?
I said,
Okay, the motion's been seconded by Mr. Rouse. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Dane Landscaping in the amount of $65,000 for our RFP for landscaping. All right. Thank you for that. Our next item is also an action item, and this involves our HR onboarding, offboarding plan. Mr. Dixon.
Madam Chair, you should have it, do you have a copy of it in your? No, yes, you do. Madam Chair, we've gone through, we made the adjustment, I believe from, where we had 30 days, in there as far as advertising, and made that adjustment to 10 days. We also made, those other necessary, and we kind of made some things succinct and, up under the different departments, and made it a little bit more understandable, hopefully. And I'll take Any suggestions, that you might have? Or any ideas that you might have? Here we are. Under talent acquisition, talking about job postings, we will use Talent Ed, Teach Georgia, and social media, 10-day minimum. And that's where at one time we had 30 days. Are we good with that?
I am.
Then we next part, we just talked about that we will train all of the administrators on the Talent Ed website, Teach Georgia website, and the things of that nature. Then with next part, we talked about the interview process and who would be involved at the different levels of that nature. The onboarding process and the timeline of getting the contracts out, who will be responsible for what as it relates to certification and things of that nature. Talking about evaluations and where things will be kept and restored as a repository. Talk about records retention. I think one of the things that we've had a lot of discussion about would be the exit process. Employees must submit resignation, leaves, or retirements in writing to HR. Employees resigning must complete online exit interview prior to board submission of resignation. Employees will have the option to have an in-person interview with HR superintendent, and exit interviews will be submitted directly to HR superintendent and board. Employees will not be released from duties contract until board approval, and retention and evaluation of district property and subsequent fees, debts, and penalties are settled. Now, I think employees will have the option to have an in-person interview with HR superintendent, and I think that should be a slash, and the board is where we left that. Any questions or comments?
I don't have any. We're gonna add the board to that, right?
Yes, yes, sir. Any glaring things left out, or any things that we need to address?
This may not be part of this process and it may not need to go here, but how do you plan on letting people know if they're not selected? How is that procedure? Does that need to be part of this, or does it need to be just something else? What that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Because the worst thing, if you apply for something and they don't let, nobody ever tells you anything, is I think it's just respectful to let people know if they have not been selected.
I think up under that onboarding process, the timeline, where it talks about within 7 days, contract, salary sheets must be signed, returned, benefits, payroll.
Mm-hmm.
I think all candidates within that
All
7 days,
applicants.
all applicants be notified, whether or not they were selected during that time. Because if we selected who we want, we need to definitely notify those. And that is a ball that has been dropped previously, sometimes. Notify. Okay. Thank you for that. Any other suggestions? Black Sheep?
No, looks good.
Ms.
We've
Harris,
been working on it for long enough.
Ms. Rouse, Ms. Stokes.
Okay. All right, through our discussion, we did talk about two changes that, were suggested to be added, and the first one is under, on the first sheet, the back of the first sheet,
Mhm.
where it says onboarding process timeline within 7 days, to add to that all applicants, to be notified if not selected as well. Those that were not selected. And then on the exit process, employees will have the option to have an in-person interview with HR/superintendent/board of education. Is there any different way that that needs to be worded or anything else? Does that cause heartburn for anyone? And everything else to stay as is what it seems like our discussion has been.
We'll post this on our web and get you a final copy.
Okay. So is the said action item, do we need to have the act, go ahead and make that official, Mr. Dixon?
We can make it an action item with the approved changes.
With the approved changes. Is there a motion to, approve our Human Resource Department onboarding process and offloading process with the two changes as discussed?
I'll make that motion.
The motion has been made by Mr. Rouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Blackshear. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. All right. The next item will be the May FY20 financial report. Is Mr. Austin? He's coming.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Board Chair, Vice Chair, Superintendent Dixon. All right, so we are coming to an exciting time of the fiscal year, which is coming to a conclusion. A lot of activity, things are normally busy around this time. So we have pretty much expended 98%, well 99% of the current budget, and about 98% of the money has been taken in. Normally we are exceeding what we budget for our tax revenue. And so some of the other miscellaneous revenue receipts are pretty static at this particular time, not too many donations, things like that coming in at the moment. So we're looking fairly decent. Normally this particular month in June is when financial reports like this, from which I've seen in the past, just show the cash, what we're taking in, taking out, due to us closing out the fiscal year. So we're going to that particular phase where we're starting to deal with our accruals, dealing with taxes that are still coming within July, August, and September, August, and applying that to this particular fiscal year. So we're looking good, going down the same trend based upon what we had last year. Any questions, concerns about the May ending report?
I don't have any questions. Anyone else have any? Mr. Dixon, your recommendation, please.
Madam Chair, if there are no other further discussion, I will seek approval for the month ending May 31st financial report.
You've heard our, Mr. Austin's presentation and our superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the financial report for month ending May 31st, 2020?
I move that motion.
The motion has been made by Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rouse. Is there any further discussion on that time? All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that, Mr. Austin. All right, our next item is going to be, an information item, and that is the COVID-19 school reentry plan.
Madam Chair, our COVID, reentry plan is probably going to be a rather, lengthy, discussion for us tonight. If we could we allow, us to go ahead and discuss, let our principals present our handbooks and, do our standing resolution, and let that be our last item, so that we will not, keep them away from their families. This lovely lady, I guess, thought she was on the agenda.
Is there any, objection from the board to move on to go ahead and take our, that will be item E, that will be our handbooks, that's information item. And then item F, the spending, for July, and then have our COVID-19 school reentry plan last. Does anyone have any objection to going in that order? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent Dixon, and stakeholders. The JS Elementary School Administrative Team is happy to present the proposed changes to the handbook for the 2020-2021 school year. And basically, our handbook does not include a great deal of information about COVID-19 because it's changing. So this is our general handbook that talks about how we will operate as a staff and how we will engage with our students and the expectations for our students, parents, and our community. The first thing I'm going to say that we're probably the most proud of is that we have Mr. Harris from the high school and I have come up with a universal bus contract, and that is the salmon colored paper that's inside your notebooks. The part that we're extremely proud about is that you can't say if I am a student who's riding from JES that is quite different in terms of discipline and how we're going to handle conduct when you get to the high school. This will be in a contract for our parents to sign, and it basically outlines those challenges that we have with getting our students to school safely. Every parent will be required to sign it because even if they don't ride the bus to school, we do know that we may have opportunities for them to travel, to go to different extracurricular activities. They may be going to the museum. Wherever they're going to comply with our bus contract. And so every family will have to sign the contract. It is important to talk about the consequences because as we're being proactive, we want everyone to know that we've kind of created a step process, which initially will have immediate contact when there's an infraction or behavior challenge. Then it goes to a 3-day suspension off the bus. Then it moves on to a 5-day suspension off the bus. Then we move to 7, 10, and then a remainder of the year. And this is important because we know that with everything going on, it is going to be very important for us to have something streamlined for our students to comply with, but it also gives them ample chances to get things right while they're riding our bus. We know that they're going to behave, but we want to make sure that it's very clear of our expectations when they're riding the bus so that our families alike know that that is an extension of our classroom. And so if you'll take an opportunity to peruse that, that's probably going to be the most vital and the most noted change as we move into this academic year.
When is the parent notified?
Well, it'll go out with our handbook, so immediately, day one.
I'm
And
talking about when will the parents be notified of these offenses?
we call them immediately. So anything that happens on the bus driver usually writes a referral, and the referral comes to us. And then we call the parent to immediately let them know what happened on the bus.
Okay.
So they will be aware. And that has always been a practice. We always let parents know when something happens on the bus. That's the norm at JES and at the middle high school. And so if you'll move on to the changes that are noted in the book, they are going to be indicated by yellow. We are moving from the Together We Inspire Great Gains and moving to our JES Promise. I know that each of you have been on campus in the morning when we begin this process. Our students love it. It has really been a way for us to set the tone for the day by establishing that today is a new day And so that will now be incorporated into our handbook so that everyone is aware of our commitment and our motto. In addition to that, you're just going to see a change of language. So there are no minor changes in the beginning of our handbook. We just wanted to clear up some lines. We wanted to make sure that the communication was clear. And so you have the opportunity to review that. But I do want to call your attention to where it says at the very top, page 26. That's not the page number, but it's going to be about 3 pages in, and it says page 26, which would be the old book, what number it is in the old book. You'll notice here that there were a number of challenges when it came to electronics on the bus. Sometimes that was an opportunity that the bus drivers allowed the students to have so that they could, enjoy the ride a little bit more. And so for us at JES, we wanted to make sure that we noted that we understand that students can ride the bus and have their electronic devices, but for us at school, we are not going to have electronic devices on campus while we're in school. Now, that means that they can have it in their book bag, they can put it up when they get into the classroom, but we are not going to have our cell phones in the classroom disrupting instruction during the day. And we wanted to make that change because they can use the cell phone sometimes on the bus, but they cannot use it in our classrooms.
And Ms. Jenkins, just to be clear about that too, because in some school systems and other places, or even our places, some students have electronic devices that they bring from home that they use for their schoolwork. But I believe our school district is going to be one-to-one electronic device. We will have enough devices for the students to use at school.
Right.
I'm correct in saying that.
In addition to that, our Chromebooks, whatever apps our students are going to use, they are already on our Chromebooks. So there is no need at the elementary school for us to have our cell phones out, because all those apps have been outfitted on our Chromebooks, thankful to Mr. Bassett. So indeed.
Okay.
But that is going to be important because we do understand that kids can have their cell phones, but we do not have them out during instruction.
Okay.
The rest of the pages you'll see is just a change in language as well. And so what the most important part here is that we wanted to align our matrix with what the state says. So if the state level addressed it as a level 2 infraction, we want it to be a level 2 infraction as well. And so we went through to really make that a uniform effort so that no matter where they were pulling up this data, it will look the same in our handbook and according to state standards. If you'll go to offenses, we have added vaping paraphernalia. That was not included in our handbook. And that is not something that we really contend with at JES, but things happen and we just wanted to be proactive and prepared and have it noted in our handbook that vaping paraphernalia is not prohibited on our campus. And so again, we'll just move through the handbook. There are no major highlights. You're really just gonna note, if you're looking at the old handbook and comparing it to the new handbook that is yet to come out, that there's just level infractions are aligned with the state. And so a lot of those pages are included here just so that you'll see that level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is congruent with what the state says. I will take you to the very end. We are going to have Girl Scouts back on our campus, so we've added that as one of our clubs. We're gonna have 4-H back on our campus. We definitely have that prestigious Beta Club that's there. We've been nationally recognized yet again.
Yeah.
And then we did not have birthdays that were allowed from throughout the grades, but now we're going to allow that opportunity K-5. Our parents have been extremely helpful in coming in right at 2:15 and getting celebrating those students and getting out of the building, so there's no challenges there. Now, we know that COVID-19 may change all of that, but we are noting in our handbook that if there are, no major outbreaks or no major changes, we're gonna extend that opportunity to all of our students because many of their friends and families are right there on campus with us and we want them to celebrate them right there with us. And then the final note you're going to note here is that we've changed how we move to the next grade into the next grade. And so we've kind of set the parameters. Of course, we're aligning it to the state that indicates how students will move from kindergarten to first grade, third grade, and so forth. And so that is going to be very important. Kindergartens must have received intervention strategies, but have mastered 70% of the standard. And so when you have to have those heart-provoking conversations about retaining a kid or them not meeting mastery, we want to have it noted in our handbook that that is the requirement. And we have some great data that comes from the state that lets us know if the students are progressing in that way. And so we're going to make sure that the standard of 70% is how we're going to move our students forward going into the first grade. And then you'll notice that it kind of stays the same. First and second is 7%. Will show up in reading, language arts, and mathematics. You'll see the same thing according in third through fifth grade. Of course, the milestone will come into play. I know we're not testing this year, but we just want to set the standard for what our students are required to achieve prior to moving to the next grade. And so the handbook is not prettied up yet, but those are the changes that you're going to see. And we definitely want our community to start to note that we have aligned our bus contract so that everybody has the same standards when they are safely commuting to school and back home. Anybody?
Question.
Yes, ma'am?
What time will the student have to be in the school building?
So as of now, that time has not changed. So they have to be in the building, in the classroom by 7:50. Have to be in the building, in the classroom by 7:50. Now, we open the doors around 7:20, just so that students get a chance to get breakfast. We know that some of our families have to commute outside of the district, so we do open up at 7:20. There's someone always there to greet them. But 7:50, we're expecting them to be seated and ready for learning. Any additional questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins,
Yes, sir.
would you come back, because I will introduce you officially.
Yay! I've been waiting on that.
This is Ms. Reese Jenkins. This is our new principal at JES. And she has been with us for some time now in some other roles, but we're proud to introduce her to our listening audience and to the board officially. Ms. Reese Jenkins. Great job on presenting your handbook.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Mr. Harris?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Vice, and esteemed board members. Glad to be with you this evening. We are going over the Twiggs County Middle High School handbook, and I will go ahead and say up front, we have a staff handbook as well, but the changes for that are not finalized yet, due to myself and Ms. Woodley going through some of the things, talking amongst things that we want to do differently with the staff, holding them more accountable for things that we think should be happening in the school buildings. So we did want to take a little bit more time before we propose that. But I do have all the changes for the students. As Ms. Jenkins stated, we did talk with each other, and while I was at JES, we kind of talked about this bus contract. And I actually reached out to the middle high school about making it a universal bus contract. They agreed, and you know, I ended up moving there anyway, so we just kind of took it with us. And myself and Ms. Jenkins, we are keeping constant contact. We want to be vertical aligned, you know, so kids' educational experience from pre-K all the way through 12th grade is somewhat aligned. So we keep in constant communication with that, so we can make that go forward. So I won't go over this bus contract because it's the same for us as well. Ms. Stokes asked that question about when students or parents will be notified. One little thing that I have to add to that, let's say a child gets in trouble today. Well, if they rode the bus that day, we would allow them to ride home that day. You know, parents may not have that already arranged. We know that it's going to inconvenience them a little bit, but our thoughts with that was if the parents are inconvenienced, most of the time that kind of falls back on the child. You know, they have to be inconvenienced a little bit. They'll be a little bit harder on their children about the consequences. So they will be able to ride that day, but it will start that next day, unless it's a fight or something where they would have to be removed immediately. So, you know, that will kind of be at our discretion, but typically the parent will be notified that day, and then that following day, that's when the consequences will start. All right, now if you look at the handbook, I have the old handbook here, but you can follow along with the one that I gave you. And I kind of, if you flip over to the second page, it has a table of contents. And in red, those are the changes that have been made. So if we flip over to, it's kind of page 5 and page 6, and that comes with the format of the book when we print it out. But you see I have my new letter here that I did to address the staff and address parents and students. That next page is a district calendar. And then if you go down to page 8, and looking along with the PowerPoint that Mr. Basley has on the screen, it says rearrange philosophy and alma mater. Well, you get to know me, I have OCD a little bit, I don't think I've been diagnosed, but I think I do have it. I was looking at this handbook, and I saw where the educational excellence and then the philosophy, and then it had the alma mater in between there. And I kind of felt like if this was a handbook for middle and high school, the things that we're talking about the county should be together, and then things that were synonymous for middle and high should have been after that. So I just rearranged it. So that was just a small change. This Twiggs County Middle High School motto, this is something that I just, actually when I first came in administration about 4 or 5 years ago, I wanted to come up with something that was simple enough for a pre-K student, but could also resonate with an adult. And that's how I came up with, I am somebody, I do matter, I will be great. I really feel like if students know they are somebody, they do matter, and they do really believe they'll be great, I think if they get that in their spirit, that's what is gonna happen. So I want all our students, and I'm actually gonna challenge them to know it. I'm gonna tell them teachers gonna ask you about this anytime. I want it to be recited, but I really wanna make this a part of the middle high school, so they can really start believing these words, and I think we'll get great gains from that. So that's where that came about. All right, let's move on to, and I'm going by the table of contents. Let's see, and it should go all the way down too, because it wasn't many changes, and I did get with Dr. Ramsey, a lot of changes that they had made, they were fine. I didn't see any reason to change those. Now I think on the table of contents, I might didn't highlight page, and I don't think I did because the pages ran together. So if you look at the PowerPoint, it says page 13. So if you can go to 13 in your packet, because that is conducive. If you go to page 13, it talks about the honor graduates. That had already been changed last year, but I just wanted to reiterate that again. And the main part that we really wanted to be highlighted was that a student must be here after their sophomore year in order to obtain these awards. And the reason that we want to keep going with that, because we want a student transferring in their senior year. Might be a smart student, honor student, we congratulate that, and of course we're proud of that, but we just didn't feel that would be fair for them to get salutatorian or valedictorian, and they haven't completed but half a year in our district or in our school. So that's why we wanted to reiterate that again. All right, if you go on to page 22, it says remove Cobra Sharp from the PBIS matrix. And that's basically, we had a matrix for the high school synonymously. We took that one out, and we just want to go with a universal one, which will be the good Cobra, and that's on page 24. And we're just going to use that one for the middle and the high school. We looked at it and we just wanted to keep it simple. We said instead of using 2, let's just keep 1. So we got rid of the Cobra Sharp, and we're just going to go with this here, the good Cobra. Page 37. Now on page 37, and I'm waiting for a few to get there. All right, on page 37, where it says property damage, that first offense, up to 5 days ISS, actually that's gonna remain the same. We thought about changing that, so that's why that's in red, but that's gonna remain. If you come down to stealing, larceny, petty theft, the intentional and unlawful taking or carrying away of public or personal property. Before this, it was 5 days OSS, 9 days OSS, and then it was 10 days. We actually reduced that a little bit because we thought about, well, if a child is taking something from someone else, we just thought 5 days up front was a little harsh the first time. So of course, any of these are the discretion of the administration. So, if it's something of public property or it's something of the Twiggs County School District, of course, these, the consequences may be more severe than this. It kind of just depends on an as cases basis, but we just thought for just stealing from a student or things like that, we would start off, we reduce the days a little bit. So that was our premise and thinking for that. And then page 71. All right, on page 71, and it's just one little line. Crocs may be worn only if they are correctly fastened to the foot with a strap. So that was basically, you know, some of the Crocs don't have straps and they're basically just like slides. So we talked about that and we said, well, they can wear them, but they have to have the one that have a strap so they will stay down on their foot. Mainly for safety reasons. Students like them. They, you know, they are somewhat fashionable, especially with our new babies. But safety reasons, slides can get very they can be very hazardous, you know, if people are running or just anything. So we just felt like, and it's not a professional look. So we talked about that as well. I do plan on making incentives where the students may be able to earn to wear slides maybe one day out the week, maybe on a Friday. So I do look toward incentives like that. But as far as them being able to wear things like that every day, we took that out. So they will not be prohibited. I believe that is all I have for the handbook changes. Like I stated before, the staff handbook will have some revisions to it, but we wanted to think long and hard with that. Like I said, with the new AP coming on, I wanted to, you know, give them some input in that, as well as if another AP comes on, I want to have that input as well. So that's why the staff handbook is not ready at this time. Any questions? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that. All right, so, that concludes the information on our handbooks. So our next item will be, the action item of the spending resolution for July. Is that
Mr. Austin.
Mr. Austin?
So part of what we accomplished in a lot of the budget meetings and administrative meetings is determining strategies if the state did not allow us to see what our QB allotment will be. Unfortunately, we still don't know. However, there's movement in the legislative body. They have passed something for approval, and there are cuts being made to the education budget from the state. However, we do not know what that impact is to the local district as of yet. For that reason, I wanted to ensure that one of the strategies of spending resolution did come forward, and so that we can able to make payroll and operational expenditures for next month. We needed to have enough time to do an actual advertisement and actual hearing for the budget, and due to still not knowing, we don't have enough time. And so this would give us an opportunity to at least go through July next month without having any implications financially. Any questions or concerns?
So this would just be for business as usual in July to go ahead and make sure we can make the payroll and that kind of thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Austin?
I've been kind of watching, and listening to John Zahner and listening to Angela Palm, but where do you think we are, as far as getting some more information? Do you have, with your, as a matter of fact, tomorrow, Mr. Bacon and I will be on a webinar with other superintendents, and hopefully getting some more information about a lot of things, but where do you think we are as far as getting more information?
From what I've seen, there was an article released a few days ago breaking down what was passed to be approved. And with that, I do think in the next week or so, we should have more clarity around what direction they're leaning towards. Given the governor's support in certain things, I do feel it shouldn't be a big pushback, so it should be a quick approval. But however, the cuts are in every particular area in that particular budget, so I believe that it will be a consensus to move quickly in that. And so by the first of the next month, we should have a clear definition of what things look like.
Okay. And Mr. Dixon, you just wanna say your.
Madam Chair, with all of the information that I have, I will seek approval for a spending resolution for the month of July.
You've heard Mr. Austin's presentation, and, you've heard our superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the spending resolution for July?
I'll move that motion.
The motion has been made by Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rouse. Is there any discussion at this time? Anyone have any questions or any discussion about this? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Austin, for that. And I thank you. All right, so let's see, our last item, right, is have I missed any, does anyone see that I've missed anything else? I think our last item is the COVID-19 information item. That will be the last item on our business agenda. So, Mr. Dixon, I'll hand that over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Basley. I'm old and decrepit. We have been spending a lot of time lately on trying to discuss and to look at what will we do as it relates to COVID-19 and trying to determine what will we do with coming back to school. One of the things is that you cannot really look at one school district and determine what we should do because everybody's situation is different. One of the things that CDC is requesting is that you take a look at your own county. What are the numbers looking like in your county? Well, as you all know, we had very low numbers for a long time. We were stuck at 7, 9. Right now, I think, Mr. Basley, when we looked yesterday, our numbers were at 30.
17.
At 17. At 17. So when we looked at that, and we looked at what some of our surrounding counties are doing, some of the drastic things that they're doing, we may not look like them in some of the things that we're doing. So one of the first things that we wanted to do is that we wanted to talk about what will school look like for Twiggs County. It may not look like Blakely County. It may not look like Wilkinson County. It may not look like Beale, because when you look in Wilkinson County, the numbers are much higher. You look in Blakely County, the numbers are much higher. So that's one of the recommendations from CDC. Look at your own, be in collaboration with your Department of Public Health. Rhonda and I spent last week on the phone maybe 45 minutes talking about, what have we done? We're doing all of the safety precautions that we should be doing. We're kind of a little bit ahead of the game. So she was very pleased with where we were. She wanted to know, would we have an open house, and could they be at open house to help get information out? What did we do if we heard of an employee that maybe had been exposed? So I went through all of that. So she was very pleased with that kind of information of what we had done. So as we looked at the things of where we are, we fall into that low moderate range. So we are very fortunate in that respect. So as we looked at that, the first thing that we wanted to do is probably do a survey and I did email it out to you all, and it's a very basic survey. Just ask, where does your child go to school? And then basically, are you comfortable with sending your child back to school? And if you had a choice, would you, be interested in your child having some virtual learning opportunity? Or would you be interested in your child going back to school traditionally? I don't think we are at a point where we need to try to do, A, B type schedule, a half-day type schedule. As lead learner, I think right now we're at a point where because I do think that is a parent's choice. And I do think that it is this board's prerogative to offer that as a choice. That we will have the tools to be able to do that. Many of you were not on the board when I first came. One of the first things that we did institute, Ms. Stokes and Ms. Blackshear, you remember, we had a virtual school, and we had students enrolled from all over the state. And at that time, I was hoping that that would be a recruitment tool to recruit some of our homeschoolers that live in our county, that would get them involved with an opportunity to come back to our school. So I'm hoping that this will not be a deterrent from people coming back to our school, but hopefully maybe even get some more people back to our school by having this option out there. So as we'll get the survey out, and we're scheduled to start school on August 3rd. That is something that I want us to have some conversation about. We are working diligently. Some school districts are delaying the start of school. Some are going full steam ahead. So those are some discussions that this board have to have. What do we want it to look like? What do we want it to be? Most of our kids, most of them are related in some shape, form, or fashion. So when we go to talking about, well, we only want this number on a bus, most of them have been around each other at some function, somewhere. So those are things that are decisions that parents will have to make. And some parents are conscious enough that they will make the decision, I'm gonna drive them out. Some won't have any other choice but to put them on the bus. And we will have to make the best decisions that we can make. All of the CDC suggestions, we would definitely try to make those accommodations as much as possible. But I think our role is to educate boys and girls, and we have to do that the safest and the best of our ability. So those are the conversations that I would like for us to start tonight. You did get the survey. You've kind of been hearing about what some of the things other districts are doing, but what does it look like for Twiggs County? And what do you think it should look like for us?
So, when the kids do get to school, do you think it'd be best for the teachers to change classrooms, or?
Well, in the elementary, you can do a little bit more with that when you get to the middle high school, because their schedules are so different. That makes it a little bit more and difficult. But the middle high school students can be a little bit more accountable for, their own personal hygiene, their own taking responsibility for, washing their hands and using the safeguards that's in place. But we can, for elementary schools, teachers in the elementary school have changed class. A group of students stayed in a classroom, and then those teachers rotated rather than the students. That's been an old school thing, from years ago. So that would definitely, I'm thinking that in the elementary school, that we definitely will probably implement. And that's one of the things that we've talked about in our administrative team.
Well, I kind of see two different sides, and just based on people that I've talked to in the community and thing, and one side, I think it's great if we do offer some sort of online or virtual learning for parents if they choose not to send their children to school based on whether they have someone in their home, whether the child has underlying health conditions. We have a lot of children that have asthma and things like that.
Yes.
Or they live with grandparents, or they live with parents that may have that. But then on the other side, and I know that the school is not a babysitter for children, but we have parents in our community that go to work, and before, that's where the children went when they went to work, you know, and it works out. So of course, we're not a babysitter, but I think we do need to offer something somewhere for the children if we can, you know, with safety. And if we do not have, you just may have to mitigate when you do, or if you do have outbreaks and that kind of thing. And it looks like we have a matrix there that tells. So those are the two sides that I'm seeing. And I just, in the back of my mind, I'm worried about teachers having to handle in class and online as well, and I just wonder what if we're gonna be able to offer, we need to be able to offer the support for these teachers for doing
Well, one
that,
of the
if
things that
if it comes to that.
we've talked about, very in-depth is that whatever, format that we use online will be used in the classroom, so teachers are not using two formats. So if some support is needed for those online, it won't be, teachers won't be trying to do two different formats. And we talked about this will be a discussion that we will have to have, that if you choose to do yours online, that's a choice that you're making, and you can't choose to do that today and then decide next week to send that child to school. That will be for either a 9-week or a semester. Because that's not fair to the classroom teacher.
Right, to have them in and out.
In and out. That's
true.
not fair to
That's agreed.
those other students
Absolutely.
there. Sometimes, you build up your immune system for that group, and then one comes in with that. And I think that's some of the things that have been discussed along. You've got some in with that, so there's a lot of discussion with that. We've looked at 3 different programs. We looked at PLP. We looked at the one today. We looked at, what was that one called today? Blackboard. And then tomorrow we're looking at Edgenuity and Odyssey. And the one that we're looking at tomorrow, Odyssey and Ingenuity, Wilkinson County is using it. And they are basically almost going totally online.
Now, that's just the platform for the assignments to be, are they lessons as well?
That's lessons.
That's lesson too, because I thought Blackboard was basically
No,
what this.
Blackboard is, we did not.
Okay,
We were not too impressed with
Blackboard is pretty much, I believe that's what the tech schools use, but I'm
We
not
were not too impressed with Blackboard today.
Okay.
How would that, involve the attendance?
I believe, because it's statewide, I don't think that, if you choose to go virtually, that's gonna be a waiver with attendance. But it'll be how you log in, because with Edgenuity and Odyssey, where it logs you when you log in. It's just like with those of us, that are working, it logs you when you log in, so.
That's true.
There will be that piece of accountability there.
Well, I didn't want our numbers to fall down,
Yeah.
because kids are staying at home to do the stuff.
I think I read that the governor had applied for the waiver to do
Yeah,
away
that's
with the
been applied.
testing for this year, and I think that's pretty much want to come through, and probably that CCRPI index is probably right now is put on hold.
Mr. Dix, we spoke to is board work, not blackboard. Board work.
Oh, board work, okay. Okay. What are the teachers saying? And our staff?
The other staff, they're involved in some of the review of the programs. So, what we're looking at, there again, it's not, everybody is anxious about what we're going to do.
Right.
So until we get this survey out there, and then we get some things proposed to them.
Okay.
So then I think we'll have more input from them. So I wanted to kind of just start this conversation, with us to kind of get a feel, to see if you guys kind of felt like, because there again, it may look different in Lawrence County than it does look here in Twiggs County, than it does look in Wilson, because based upon the data of what it may have to look like in a different county. It may not have to, we don't necessarily have to look like another county.
Everybody else, we've got to do what's right for us.
We got to do
That's
what's,
right.
what's the best decision that we can make.
Based on what we're doing, that's right.
How is this gonna affect Elam School? Cause I know we do have students there, or it has been there.
Yes, they will still follow, the bib schedule. It's because, they serve all of our Middle Georgia research schools, so, they still follow that bib schedule, whatever.
I know we talking about, how to look when we go back or whatever. What are the safety precautions that we would be, that the student will be facing as far as, would they be required to wear a mask, or would they be, would they have to wear the mask, would they get temperature checked, at school, or on the bus, or what, how it work, what we looking at?
Okay,
I mean, what CDC saying now?
okay.
I know it could change,
Yes, it does change daily. Mr. Bacon, if you step in. We've already instituted some things on our buses. What's those things that we've already put on the buses?
So they're being installed there, ionic, air purifiers.
Ionic air purifiers on our buses. In our air conditioning system at the high school, we already had
Ionic air purifiers, and then we're installing them into the elementary school with our new upgrade. So the elementary school will have air purifiers when we start school. The high school has them. We have them going in to check in the high school, making sure that they're functional, and then installing the ones on the buses as of today.
And we have purchased to be able to check the temperatures. Yes, and then we are looking at with the mask.
Where would the temperature be checked? On the
Where did we find it? I know we went back and forth.
We're still trying to figure it out. We talked with our neighbors my neighbors in Wilkinson County.
I think you're back maybe to the.
Oh, sorry. Is that home?
Come up right here, huh?
Are we in session?
We're in session.
We talked with several of our neighbors, and Wilkinson County is planning on doing their checks at the bus stop. That renders lots of logistical questions. If we get a kid at the bus stop who has a fever, what do we do? How do we isolate them? Also, what time will it take for the bus driver? They're contactless laser. How long will it take, a bus driver to click each kid, so we're working out those sorts of things. And are we gonna require masks for every kid? Are we not gonna require masks? So there's still some things. So what we wanted to do is first say, hey, the district has made significant investment in keeping your child safe, because if we don't have good air quality, so we had our air conditioners on the buses already serviced. We put the ionic air purifiers in there. We already have the chemicals that the bus drivers will use before and after each route to spray. And it's safe for the children, safe during the day. So it's implemented those sorts of things. Also, when they get to the building, we're working out how do they get in, how often do we clean, all of those different types of things. And we're finding out new things about the virus as well. The virus had initially a lifetime on a surface of 8 hours. That's what they told us, 8 hours. Now we're finding out it's less than 3. It's less than 3. So that's a huge difference for us. So that means that the family of chemicals that we can use has changed from being very potent to we can use like an ammoniated chemical that's very easy for us and not as expensive. So we're working these things out. So I'm gonna write what happens on a bus for the bus driver, but we gotta figure out some other rules. So I think, and this is all with CARE Act. So we're getting in place. You noticed how we did graduation. So we had 10 thermometers. We ordered 30 to have in the district, and they should be on their way within the next couple weeks. Hand sanitizers, we're gonna put hand sanitizer on the bus, and we're not gonna use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer on the buses or in our schools. We're gonna use something else that is not alcohol-based. We think it's a little bit safer, a little bit easier for kids to use, and safer overall. So we're looking to deploy those. We're getting a sample of that. The vendors guarantee the district that if that's what we want to go with, we'll have enough supply. It's really about supply right now, making sure that there's enough supply and that we have enough. Ms. Jenkins and I walked her building. We made sure that the smaller kids, half of the building has sinks. So we made sure we're gonna put the smaller kids by sinks as much as possible.
Oh, inside the classroom?
Inside the classroom.
And soap?
And soap, and
Not
we'll
just
have,
hand sanitizer?
no, matter of fact,
Soap and water?
you're right. And we will not put hand sanitizer in the bathrooms because when they go to the bathrooms, we want them to wash their hands.
With soap and
Right,
water.
wash their hands. So we're thinking all these things through, and it's a lot to think about. And people are talking to us and giving us ideas. The wellness barriers should be come up around the offices, hopefully this weekend or probably even sooner than that. So hopefully there'll be protective guards around. We wanted to make them nice. We wanted to make them long term. So that took a lot. So those things are coming in place as we go. It's scary, to be honest, and like I told a vendor today, if I give a child a mask, the district has to be able to trace that mask from my hand all the way to the manufacturer to the materials. So all these people just calling us, they have masks. We can't really do that because once I give you a mask, we're accepting that responsibility. Then we're talking about not just how we're going to do children, but how we do staff. Can we give staff reusable? People say, why not reusable? Because some of our kids, they're struggling. Their parents are struggling. They don't wash those things. So I'm counting on you. So how do we handle that? So it's a lot of different things that we got to come up with before school, and hopefully, I think we're getting there. I think we'll have lots in place. Some of our counterparts haven't thought that far, and for instance, to put in the air purifiers in the high school is $280,000. We don't have to do that. Other school systems can't do that. Not up front. So that's something that we had invested in when we did that years ago. So we were ahead of the curve in that. And it's only going to cost us around $40,000 to do it at the elementary school because it's for each unit. So we have 9 units, at the big units, but in the high school, every classroom has a unit that's up in the ceiling because it's a water source situation. So it's all of those things that really go into that, and then training the staff to make sure that we can buy the stuff, but if they don't use the stuff, it's about the same.
So as,
Thank you.
with all that being said, it's just a lot of conversations and the information comes down and you think you got a grip on it. And then you get some new information by the time, before you can get out of the meeting, there's some more information. So you make the best decision that you can make.
And then modify when the
And modify
time
when,
comes.
yeah, as the time comes. So we know we've got to have school.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Dixon or any comments? Any other thing?
So unless there is something, or you all have a better suggestion other than those two options of what I'm thinking?
So say those options again, Mr. Dixon, what you're saying.
A virtual option and the traditional option.
So you're saying offering the two options or just thinking about which one you're gonna go with?
Offering the two.
Okay.
Parents will have the option between the two.
I think offering the in my opinion, offering the option of the two, that would be a good way to shoot for, that would be a good way to go for. What's your thought about it, Mr. Rouse?
Yeah, I think so, and you'll know more about what you're thinking when you get the survey
When
back
it gets
anyway.
closer back.
But, at least you got an option, and you're not forcing nobody's hand to do it
Either way,
Yeah.
people have a choice.
Yes.
You were thinking this
The
much.
same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, an option.
Ms. Stokes, what you thinking?
I think it's a good idea to wait until our survey comes in.
And come back. Mr. Harris,
Same.
same with it, okay?
Thank you, because,
When are the surveys gonna go out?
I was waiting until after tonight
Okay.
to see what y'all thought, because if you all had some other options, I wanted to be able to include those.
Are you gonna have a deadline on those surveys to get returned back to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so I'm saying something like,
Right, it
Yeah.
needs to be within a certain, and just to really get the word out that the survey's out there, that people can
We'll get
easily
it on
access
TV
it.
and get it on.
And one of the questions was, I think it said I would only want the in-school option, and then I think one of the questions
Can
said,
you put it back up, Mr.?
and it's on my.
Because that's what I wanted to
too.
tonight, if it was, y'all
There was
thought it
one
was too
thing
wordy
that I
or
was just,
confusing.
that I wanted to ask about. Let's see,
Did you get it,
said
Ms.
that you
Harris?
currently have the internet
Sorry.
available.
Did you get the survey?
below. So what would be your first choice? Okay, that's it?
It was, which one was that?
Oh, the online one, after the how comfortable, that one,
Would you
Thank you.
prefer that your child participate in online learning
rather than.
for at least a semester rather than returning to brick and mortar school building?
Choose. Oh. I would need more information. No, that's fine. The only thing I was thinking on that, but you have enough of the other questions that cover that, because some parents might be able, maybe I want my child to try going to school, but then if you have to mitigate, then yes, we could do the online just like what we did before. But I think you have enough questions up there that cover that.
Okay.
You get that's all. That's it.
The one that you had and that was.
okay, so if the child, I know you discussed if the child decide not to go, they out for the 9 weeks or even the semester. What if the child decide to go and the parent, someone just come out with an outbreak or whatever, the parent decide to put them out, they go virtual?
They can go virtual. I think you don't want to put us in that position of liability
Right.
of, you made my child stay here. but once you go, then you have to stay, for that period of time.
As long as
Your-
there's no
is-
other outbreaks or anything like that, if the child's on.
Does
suspension.
does that seem,
It seems okay to me.
okay? Anybody else have any?
Anything else? Well,
And the virtually, now used to, the virtually, we get FTE for those,
Yeah.
There's still students.
and the
Twiggs
students
County.
get the support of employees from our district for that.
Now, they don't get a Joni Rainey teacher, if we get the right program,
Mhm.
platform,
Okay. Mhm.
because that would
They're gonna be doing
literally
it on the
work,
platform. Yeah, you
that would
could,
literally
a
work.
teacher couldn't do a live class like that.
Right,
and
now,
they
one
could-
of the school districts near us, they are going to a 4-day week, and then on Fridays is the teachers are doing, they support the online students on Friday. But we don't know until we get,
Now, in one district, I heard about, they went through their calendar again, and they made some days, maybe not every Friday, but they had other days, instead of the furlough or whatever, they did some days up. And I don't know if that would really save enough money to, offset if we ever had a furlough. But they did some days of, online learning, and maybe that saved the buses or whatever. Certain days in the school calendar for online learning days,
that Wilson did.
and that's
They
something.
did. They're doing a AABB. This McIntyre and Gordon are going on, say for instance, Monday and Tuesday.
Okay,
And what's the other cities in?
Irwinton and
Irwinton,
Toonsboro.
Toonsboro, they're going on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay,
And then the teachers support the online, the ones who are not coming on, they support them on Friday.
When are they starting back to school?
They're regular.
all right. Does anybody have any other questions? Anything else? Well, silence.
So we will get the survey on out.
Yes,
And we will also have on the survey, we said in August, Mr. Basley. So on our survey, this, which are the options below, we said, which are the options. So I guess we need to start preparing in our minds of the options below for August 3rd, so people can start getting their mind. If we're planning,
but that's what's on our
because
calendar as of now.
everybody wants to know,
When-
when are we going to school?
Yes.
Mhm.
Or are you all thinking delaying?
I personally wouldn't think so until you get unless more information comes out.
Yeah,
Against
something
that.
different.
Unless
But I
there's
think,
something else.
I think we
that's-
need to say something,
Yes.
so, unless there's other information,
Unless you get more
that comes.
information, right.
And we can always change that.
what's y'all thoughts?
And
Anybody
maybe
feel different?
when you get the answer back from this, because this is what was on our calendar, this is what the board has approved.
Mhm.
And then if you get a lot, how many uncomfortable or maybe depending on the results, being
that's
what,
Yeah.
then you might wanna go back
Then we may have
after
to
your
change it, but
stakeholders.
as of right now,
That's
August the
what we're
3rd
looking at.
is our date, okay.
And
I
then,
think that's a good way.
and then if, after you get
Okay, all right,
the results, then
You
we
got it,
can
Mr.
go
Bailey?
from there.
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes our business, agenda. If no one else has anything else, so at this time, I'm entertaining a motion to move into executive session for personnel matters.
Move that motion.
The motion's been made by Ms. Blackshear, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Rouse, all in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. I entertain a motion from the board to return to regular session from executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second? The motion's been made by Ms. Blackshear and seconded by Mr. Ralph to return to regular session from executive session. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. And in our executive session, we discuss personnel matters. I will start with the teacher at JES candidate. Is there a motion to approve our superintendent's recommendation regarding CID 3437, teacher at JES?
I'll move that motion.
The motion's been made by Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rouse. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to approve our superintendent's recommendation regarding CID 6440, paraprofessional at JES?
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by Mr. Rouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Stokes. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to approve our superintendent's recommendation regarding CID 4866, paraprofessional JES?
I'll make that motion.
The motion's been made by Ms. Stokes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Blackshear. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation regarding CID 40, teacher JES?
I'll make that motion.
The motion's been made by Mr. Rouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Stokes. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Now, on to the high school. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of CID 1001?
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by Mr. Rouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Blackshear. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation regarding CID 1002?
I'll move that motion.
The motion's been made by Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rouse. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion regarding the resignations? You could take them separately or together.
Together.
If you so move, please do so, Ms. Blackshear.
I accept both resignations for both candidates.
Okay, Ms. Blackshear has made the motion to approve the resignations as presented in both resignations, EID 3072 and 3287. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rouse. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously, and that concludes our executive session. Our next meeting will be July 14th. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by Ms. Stokes and seconded by
Second.
Mr. Ralph. All in favor, please raise your hand. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.